They do wish to remain anonymous for their own reasons, and they asked me to look into it.
Tonight, a Yukon family seeks legal help on how to get a Carcross-Tagish woman out of a Turkish prison.
We're moving full steam ahead with care cuts and hoping to be ready for Christmas.
Haircuts for the homeless becomes a target of racism and hate.
For me, it's been very important to be truthful with Mohawk Girls, and I can stand by every single storyline in the show.
And the award-winning provocative series Mohawk Girls is about to end its 5-year run. Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Leadership from Saskatchewan's northern fly-in communities are praising the efforts of locals and first responders for their bravery in rescuing 25 people from a plane crash last week. APTN's Larissa Burnoff has more.
We are thankful for our heroes in the north.
The Prince Albert Grand Council says it was the efforts of locals and first responders that saved the lives of 22 passengers and 3 crew aboard an ATR-42 turboprop airplane that crashed in northern Saskatchewan on December 13th. The plane crashed in the trees just seconds after takeoff from the Fond du Lac Airport on a flight bound for Stony Rapids. Prince Albert Grand Chief Brian Hardlott says they are thankful everyone survived.
The Prince Albert Grand Council and the community of Fond du Lac we're very thankful that we did not get any fatalities. There were injuries, but we got people going there to assist the medical people that are there.
Black Lake First Nation Chief Corinne Siazi's niece and sister were on the flight along with 2 other band members. She credits the work of doctors, nurses, and all health staff from every far north community for coming together with locals to save lives.
Our own local people, that's our own Dene people, are our heroes. And I say ours, like we're the far north, we're all family.
Several people on board the flight were severely injured and some are in Saskatoon Hospital recovering. The Transportation Safety Board is investigating the crash and has secured evidence from the scene. Westwind Aviation has grounded their other ATR-42 plane while the investigation continues. Larissa Burnoff, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
A Yukon woman from the Carcross-Tagish First Nation, who's currently in a Turkish prison, now has a legal advocate fighting for her return to Canada. Charmin Smith has been in a women's prison in Istanbul since May of 2016 for charges of drug trafficking. She was given a 9-year sentence. Shirley McLean has more.
Legal advocate for Indigenous women Tracy White is in contact with the Canadian consulate in Turkey and is now getting briefed on the well-being of 38-year-old Charmin Smith, who suffers from epilepsy.
They said she has seen medical personnel there, that she is receiving some medication, but I believe it's an ongoing thing. Every 3 months when they come, they have to intervene with the prison officials and make sure that things are up to par, including just her general living conditions.
Should have our post.
For months now, White and her daughter, Bobby Novak, who used to work with Charmin, have worried about her safety and well-being at the Bakarkori prison. Smith comes from the small community of Carcross in southern Yukon. Friends describe her as friendly and naive. Novak believes she was duped by someone she met online and used as a meal to transport drugs back into Canada.
She had fallen prey to different email scams or phone scams and things like that. So she definitely has a history of being vulnerable in this way.
They had very little information on Smith until late last week when one of Charmin's immediate family members contacted White.
They do wish to remain anonymous for their own reasons. And they asked me to look into it. It was easier for me to look into it because they did provide me with information.
White said the family member told her that she was very hungry and that she didn't have any type of sanitary products. She needs money to purchase these things, but so far any money that has been sent to her by family has been confiscated. White is now raising funds to pay for a Turkish lawyer to help Smith get transferred back to Canada. Canada has a treaty with Turkey which enables Canadians to serve out their sentences at home, but both countries have to agree to the transfer.
Speaking with him, he's had experience in this. He's done other foreign transfers. He feels that in no way will Turkey oppose it.
The Carcross-Tagish First Nation has told APTN they will be making phone calls to their lawyers to seek advice in how they can assist getting Smith home. The Canadian consulate relayed a message from Smith to White.
I know that Charmin's extremely grateful because she's felt very abandoned.
Shirley McLean, APTN National News, Whitehorse.
You can read more on this story on our website at aptnnews.ca. Deborah Selkirk lost her husband Mark to liver failure in 2010. Since he did not abstain from alcohol for 6 months, he couldn't get a transplant. Ever since, she has challenged the 6-month rule and launched a court case in 2015. We spoke to Selkirk about the way Delilah Saunders' case is being handled. Thanks for taking the time to join us. What concerns you the most when you hear about how Delilah Saunders and her family have been treated?
It's very disappointing to me to hear another person suffering because of the 6-month wait. I think it's really unfair to put families in the position of saying the person you love, their life is in danger and the treatment they need is not an option for her. So, you know, I have heard reports that she's getting better and that's wonderful and she may not need a transplant, but why do we have to look at her mom crying that she's afraid she's going to lose her daughter? She should never have been put in that position in the first place.
How long do you think Delilah should have to wait to be put on a transplant list?
She shouldn't have to wait at all. The minute they assess that her liver function was not good, if they would assess every other patient immediately, Delilah should have been assessed like everyone else.
When your husband Mark was turned down and you were told alcoholics always drink again, how did you find out that that statement wasn't true?
It actually took me 2 years to learn the sad truth. When they said that in hospital, unfortunately, I believed them. And 2 years later, I was doing some related research, not exactly on this issue. And that's when I started to run across different medical papers, and I figured out that what they had told me in the hospital was not true at all, because the likelihood of him returning to drinking was extremely low.
Deborah, why did you start a court challenge over this all?
Because what happened to my husband was not fair, and I think that even though what I do cannot bring him back, it will certainly change the outcome for other patients. And I don't want any more families to have to go through what I went through and what Delilah's mom is potentially facing or felt that she might be facing. It's a horrible situation that could be avoided.
Your court challenge has led to a pilot program in Ontario of lowering the 6-month rule to 3 for 100 patients starting next August. How do you feel about that change?
I'm of the understanding that there is not going to be any wait period at all, that they will assess them immediately. If they need addiction treatment, they will also receive that in the meantime, and that the study will go over a period of 3 years. So I'm looking forward to that change. It is just really disappointing that in the meantime, people are facing death because of the 6-month wait. I feel that they should have started the change immediately.
Deborah, thanks so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you for contacting me.
To Calgary now, where a woman who travels around the city giving haircuts to the homeless says her bus was vandalized and she received death threats. In spite of that, she's trying to get back up and running for Christmas. Tamara Pimentel has the story.
Misty Wynn Shingoose usually spends her spare time in a mobile hair salon in downtown Calgary. The Indigenous hairstylist runs Carecuts, an organization that gives free haircuts to the homeless.
It gives people the confidence to, take the next step in helping themselves, which might be a detox center, which might be a job interview.
Shingoose had spent this past year trying to refinish this bus as a replacement of her original studio. a camper van.
So we're going to be able to have 4 cutting stations and 1 washing station inside of it. So that's sort of what we're looking to do is expand.
Shingu says the bus is usually parked in her backyard, but her landlord needed that space for renovations, so she moved it to the street in front of her house. In late November, the bus was towed to the city's impound lot due to some complaints. And on December 2nd, after bringing it back, Shingu's found spray-painted messages on the bus. On her front lawn was this note scrawled on a bedsheet, containing racial slurs and death threats.
I was in awe at this person's inability to, A, Google me and see that we actually were doing care cuts for years and that I actually was running a charity, and the hatred and the racism against me as a First Nations person.
A similar incident happened a few blocks away, and Calgary police are investigating. Shingu's bus is now locked up in a garage donated by a local business, a safe place where Shingu's can continue working on the bus and, despite the pushback, have care cuts up and running for the holidays.
We're moving full steam ahead with care cuts and hoping to be ready for Christmas, and got a couple of surprises in store for that, and then refinishing everything to a T in the new year.
Tamara Pimentel, APTN National News, Calgary.
Time for a quick break, and then we'll meet a young Indigenous advocate who is getting the opportunity to take her message to the United Nations. Here's a look at Tuesday's weather forecast starting on the East Coast. +4 and rain in Halifax, +4 and snow in Charlottetown. Sunny and -9 in Cartwright, -10 in LeGrand. A gray day and -7 in Chibougamau, -2 in Quebec City, +4 in Sarnia, London, Toronto, and Ottawa. -2 in Timmins, Kapuskasing, and Thunder Bay. Chilly in northern Manitoba, -15 in the Paw, Norway House, and Island Lake. Snow and -4 in Barons River and Gimli Harbor, -8 in Winnipeg. Sunny across parts of Saskatchewan, -7 in Estevan, -9 in Regina and Swift Current. Sunny and -22 on Tuesday in Stony Rapids and Uranium City. Welcome back. A young activist from Wikwemikong, unceded territory in Ontario, has been asked to address the UN General Assembly on World Water Day, March 22nd. Autumn Peltier will discuss the importance of clean drinking water and her initiatives to provide safe water to First Nations. Peltier was nominated for the International Children's Peace Prize earlier this year, and she addressed Prime Minister Justin Trudeau at the Assembly of First Nations meeting last year as well. On Saturday, land defenders in Nova Scotia continued their efforts to protect Glooscap Mountain, a place that is sacred to the Mi'kmaq. APTN's Justin Brake brings us the story.
Protect the treaties! Respect the sacred!
These land defenders are delivering copies of the Mi'kmaq Peace and Friendship Treaties to the Mining Association of Nova Scotia. For weeks, Mi'kmaq and allies have protested the association's attempt to lobby the province to open up protected areas. Ally Amanda Reckenick says the Mining Association has not acknowledged treaty rights.
Yeah, we hope that they understand that this is sacred land and it's not up for resource extraction of any kind ever.
The Mining Association says Nova Scotia is missing out on jobs and potential revenues. They want the province to amend protected areas legislation that prohibits industrial development, so that protected areas can be swapped out for other lands. Anne Levesque with the Council of Canadians handed out info sheets at a recent rally on Glooscap Mountain.
Yeah, you can't just swap one area for another, because they don't all have equal value. So there are certain criteria that makes an area a protected area.
Nova Scotia Premier Stephen McNeil told APTN News that no decisions will be made without consulting First Nations.
Very proud of my record as the Premier of working with First Nations communities, respecting their rights, making sure that the treaties that are the foundation of this country, that are they're respected, and that's how we proceed, making sure we do the duty to consult on all aspects of what we do.
Sean Kirby of the Mining Association said he read the treaties and that he's engaged some Mi'kmaq leaders.
We have made some requests of Mi'kmaq representatives for meetings, and I'm not going to detail who, because I figure those are private efforts to have outreach to people.
Rekenek said consulting with leaders is not good enough.
I don't trust them. I don't trust their relationship with this Liberal government, and they need to know that consultation isn't with KMK, it isn't with Band and Council, it's with treaty people, it's with the grassroots people, it's with the grandmothers, it's with Mi'kmaq.
Premier McNeil, who is also Nova Scotia's Minister of Aboriginal Affairs, said the Mining Association's request hasn't come across his desk. In the meantime, Mi'kmaq land defenders and allies say they will continue protecting Glooscap Mountain. Justin Brake, APTN National News, Halifax.
Christmas has come early for the people of Churchill. On Sunday, the Manitoba Métis Federation put on a party for the town. The organization flew in 110 Christmas hampers, 200 toys, and about a dozen musicians to lift the town's spirits. As you saw, Santa also showed up. MMF President David Chartrand says he wanted to show the people of Churchill they matter.
There's 110 families we know, without a doubt, they're going to have a full Christmas turkey dinner in their table. So that, I think, is what I think I can see so many, especially the elderly ladies, the cooks, the ones that keep the family together. They're coming and hugging me and saying, thank you, I can't wait for Christmas.
Chartrand says 10 hampers had to be taken off the plane before takeoff because it was overweight. People who didn't receive a hamper will have one shipped to them. After 5 seasons, APTN's hit series Mohawk Girls is coming to an end. Mostly set and shot in Ganawage, the popular TV show follows 4 modern Mohawk women into their struggles and sex lives. Danielle Rochette reports.
And here it is.
That's a hadui. It's a sacred ceremonial mask.
Yes, powerful artwork, isn't it?
It's not art, you have to take that down.
Mohawk Girls feature characters and themes never seen on TV before.
Cultural appropriation is not flattering!
Now wrapping up its 5th and final season, Twisidir, the co-creator and director of the comedy drama, explained the goal of the series.
The whole reason we made the show is to encourage self-reflection and growth. You know, Cynthia and I, we've gone through so much as young women and older women, and we wanted to infuse all those lessons we've learned into the show and into these characters so that maybe other young women who are watching can learn something from what we went through.
Often compared to Sex and the City, the show is fun, daring, and provocative. It stars 4 leading women. Bailey, who faces resistance for dating a non-Mohawk.
God, why can't my fiancé be more like you?
Yeah, why can't I find a girlfriend like you?
Anna, who struggles to find a place within the community.
I've tried everything to make this place my home, but I'll never fit in here.
Kathleen, who deals with an abusive boyfriend.
Maybe he's realized that he really loves me.
And Zoe, who deals with sex addiction.
You may be dealing with addiction. To what? To sex.
They react differently to love, romance, friendship, and family, but always within the context of the Mohawk community's rules and traditions.
For me, it's been very important to be truthful with Mohawk Girls, and I can stand by every single storyline in the show. They're all pulled directly from my own life or inspired by events that have actually happened.
Despite the economic impact that Mohawk Girls has had on the community, not everyone agrees with the content.
Yeah, more traditionally minded, you know, so sometimes maybe morally we didn't, like me personally, didn't think that it was appropriate to say Mohawk Girls are this way, it's younger generation, you know. And there was a little bit of controversy too also because of the evictions and the membership law.
But for Brittany LeBorn, who played the character Zoe, the adventure has been challenging and rewarding.
Which has been a real treat for me and a real challenge. And the challenge, I mean, as an actor, that's what we want, right? We want to be challenged, we want to be pushed, we want to see where we can go.
Another important aspect that Dear wanted to underline about the show is about building allies.
The show has definitely been for us a way to build a bridge with Canadians. We've welcomed them into the community to look at the complexity of what our lives are like.
The final episode airs on December 19th on APTN, and we're told it will end with some surprises. Daniel Rochette, APTN National News, Ganawagi, Quebec.
Northern Manitoba Cree elder, believed to be one of the oldest living Indigenous persons in Canada, passed away over the weekend. Sarah Harper was 111 years old at the time of her passing. She just celebrated her birthday in August. Harper was from Bunabonabee Cree Nation, about 570 kilometers northeast of Winnipeg. She was born in 1906 before the signing of the treaty for the community in 1909. In the last year, she split her time between a care home and her personal home in the community. Sheila North Wilson is Grand Chief for Northern Manitoba First Nations. She says Harper will be deeply missed.
Her loss is tremendous because she takes with her the knowledge and the wisdom that comes from having a life that long. And so she takes a lot of history with her.
And our condolences here as well. Time for another quick break, but stick around. There's more to come. Here's a look at the rest of Tuesday's weather forecast. Picking back up in northern Alberta. Sunny and -17 in High Level in Fort McMurray. Snow and -6 in Calgary. -4 in Medicine Hat. Over to British Columbia, rain-snow mix and +3 in Penticton. 0 in Kamloops. A sunny high of 3 above in Prince Rupert, -14 under the sun in Fort Nelson and Dease Lake. In Yukon, -14 in Whitehorse. Over to NWT, -23 under the sun in Yellowknife, -24 in Ray Lakes, -27 in Pawlatuck and Colville Lake, -28 in Sax Harbor. In Nunavut, even colder, -30 in Baker Lake and Repulse Bay, -32 for Cambridge Bay. -30 in Joe Haven, -27 on Tuesday in Resolute. Welcome back to outer space now, where the U.S. government's National Aeronautics and Space Agency says they've made a rather interesting discovery. 8 planets circling a distant star. It's the largest planetary system outside our own ever discovered. NASA took data gathered from the Kepler Planet Hunting Telescope and got some help from Google. Paul Hertz is NASA's Director of Astrophysics.
These scientists have found, for the first time, an 8th planet in a distant planetary system. This discovery of an 8th planet in the Kepler 90 system ties Kepler 90 with our own solar system.
NASA now believes every star in the night sky is orbited by one or more planets. Wild stuff. That is your APTN National News for this Monday. For news anytime, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow.